Selamat pagi kawan-kawan semua di Jakarta International Coffee Conference. Terima kasih sudah datang dan mampir. Kita live by the way di YouTube juga dan nanti kalian bisa streaming juga setelah ini di kanal-kanal online lainnya. Pagi ini kita akan masuk ke salah satu core dari conference kita, which is Gastrodiplomacy. Kita dari tahun ke tahun selalu punya porsi untuk ngobrolin ini dari segi yang berbeda. Tahun ini kita akan ngobrol soal bagaimana Indonesia, ini sebenarnya pertanyaan dari beberapa orang kemarin tentang ada yang nanya sebenarnya kalau di dunia saat ini kopi Indonesia tuh seperti apa sih positioningnya. Nah saat ini kita akan ngobrol dengan beberapa kawan-kawan yang juga punya perspektif berbeda. Satu dari dunia kopi, satu dari barista luar negeri, satu lagi dari atas perdagangan kita sewaktu beliau menjabat di Mesir. Saat ini di Kementerian Perdagangan. Kita panggilkan satu persatu, ada Pak Irman. Mari Pak. Mari kenalannya langsung ya. Tepuk tangannya dulu. Yang kedua kita punya Bapak Nikola. Ini seru banget. So Mr. Nikola will tell you about the world coffee from his perspective. He's also Colombian, and as we know, Colombian coffee is one of the best coffee in the world. Okay, Pak Nikola. Yes. And last but not least, Mas Iman. Please give us applause, Mas Iman. Mas Iman dari kopi kalian, nanti bisa cerita juga. Oke, silakan. Okay, so we are going to run the conference in bilingual, Indonesian and English. So hope I can merge everything out. But like I said to you before, the conference today is about the gastrodiplomacy. And we always had this conference every now and then, which is every year means. And talking about from a different perspective. Last time we talked about diplomacy, and this time we talk about Indonesian positioning coffee. So everything had to do with the diplomacy. But today we are going to talk in three different perspectives. We are going to talk about G2G from a perspective of a barista coming from Colombia and Indonesian coffee that has been taken abroad. Kopi Kalian has been opening their space in Tokyo, and we'll listen to it. But before that, let's have an introduction, starting from Pak Irman.
Okay, thank you. My name is Irman Adi Purwanto Mufti. I'm currently working at the Ministry of Trade as associate trade analyst. But I used to work at the embassy of Indonesia in Egypt as a trade attaché. So it is an honor for me to be here in front of all of you, that I can share a bit of experience later on, basically in accordance with this theme of gastrodiplomacy of coffee. Thank you.
Okay. A few interesting thing is that we met when I was in Egypt. Pak Irman was the trade attaché at that time. Egypt was nothing in a location when it comes to buying our coffee back then. When he was there, I think after 3-4 years, yeah, Pak, it becomes the fourth country that take most of our coffee, and now become the second biggest importer ya, yes. Pak. Tepuk tangannya dulu dong. Gambarannya adalah waktu beliau di sana, Mesir itu nggak beli kopi dari kita. Tapi pada saat berjalan sampai ke tahap di mana Mesir adalah negara keempat terbesar beli kopi Indonesia. Sekarang kedua terbesar. Jadi interest itu ada bila disambut, dijembatani dengan satu positioning yang bagus, maka dia jadi action, which is ya tadi dapat datanya seperti itu. Next kita bisa kenalan, let's introduce yourself. Mas Iman.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning, everyone. My name is Iman Kusuma Putra. I am the co-founder of a small coffee company here based in Indonesia called Kopi Kalian. We've been around for about 9 years, and we're a company that does a lot of retail, but a little bit of wholesale as well here and there. Currently, we have 6 outlets in Indonesia and 1 in Tokyo. So proudly serving Indonesian coffee in Tokyo. That's a little bit about myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, if you are in South Jakarta or Jakarta in general, you know Kopi Kalian lah ya. There's a time when we talk about this new coffee in can. It's one of the coffee shop that started those. And they always have a chic coffee shop, selalu keren tempatnya. Dan our history goes back ya, Iman. Still remember meeting him the first time, 10 o'clock, ya, malam-malam waktu itu. Kita ngobrol sampai akhirnya mereka jalan bikin Kopi Kalian waktu itu. And last but not least, Mr. Nicola, please introduce yourself.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Nicolas Montoya. I am a barista and coffee producer from Colombia. I have been based in Indonesia for almost 14 years now. And through these 14 years, I've been working very hard to, first of all, to learn more about Indonesia because it's a huge culture and very, very interesting country. But also to teach people in Indonesia about the experience that we have in Colombian coffee with Colombian coffee and see how we can work together to grow together, also improve production both here and there, and learn from each other in terms of good practices and everything. I have a background in culinary arts, and I'm also a certified barista. And I have, within these 14 years, I have also helped organize several events with important people in the coffee business, like Colombian World Barista Champion Diego Campos, and I also have worked in several events with Mikhail Hassin, who was your World Barista Champion last year. Incredible guy, very nice. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And Nicholas have been working with us also for the last 2 years, yeah? Nicholas,
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Yeah. We still remember the first time we met in his office in Semanggi area, meeting in the Colombian embassy, talking about the possibility that we can make. And in a historical way also, Nicola has been, your parents is in, also working in the coffee industry, yeah?
Yeah, that's true. My mom has a coffee plantation in Santander in Colombia.
Okay. So there's a lot to learn from the South American family of ours, which is Brown Belt also, but they have been distributing and branding their coffee in a very nice way. We certainly find Panama, Colombia coffee much more easier and much more in a stage forum rather than Indonesian. So a lot of things to learn. Hopefully we can learn something from him also today. The first question would be a quiet, wide question about how do people from outside, the international community, Pak Irman, think about Indonesian coffee? How have you been telling the story back then from country that knows nothing about Indonesian coffee to then buying a lot of our coffee?
Okay, thank you. That's a very nice question. So before I answer that, I would like to quote this, I think perhaps many of you already know this famous quote that it is important that diplomacy without a coffee, it's like an orchestra without a conductor. So
Okay.
So it is important, I mean, for us working as civil servants in another countries to promote the Indonesian coffee that's in a country that basically not known widely spread about anything about the Indonesian coffee, basically. But we understand that their culture is also drinking a lot of coffee. So, first of all, it is important for us to understand that Indonesian culture and other country cultures, maybe perhaps they have like a similarity. So we have to understand the culture, I mean the behavior, the attitude, what the community basically in other countries usually do. I mean, if they like coffee, so it is important for us to, to visit any community, to visit many areas, and then to visit many companies, basically in these countries, getting more in people-to-people connections. So that's, I believe, they will, getting us more closely, understand us more closely, basically, because they like to drink coffee, and we can provide also many kinds of coffee from our countries that have more and a variety of tastes, a variety of kinds, and then it is important to promote and those coffees, not to first, we don't have to sell it first, but to promote and to give them to try, to demonstrate how can we, give the opportunity for them to taste our variety kinds of coffees.
Oh, okay.
And then, for sure, I mean, if they like it, so I mean, we believe that the preference of the coffees, I mean, will be coming from basically from themselves. I mean, that will be attracted to themselves. So then we can, giving more information about the kind of coffee that we produce in Indonesia. That's why we with the storytelling, with the, with the kind of demonstrations, and we believe that, and then one countries will understand and will likely more about the Indonesian coffees.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So basically, we try to connect them from the cultures, yeah, with the same background that we're drinking coffee. I still remember back then when we were in Egypt, I'm actually making a barista class, yeah, with the embassy. And Pak Irman is really friendly enough to actually opens the door from the embassy. There is the one level in our embassy in Egypt. It becomes a shelf, and we almost open our coffee shop in the embassy of Indonesia in Egypt back then. But it was quite a political chaos at that time, and that's why we kind of stopped the idea. Because we don't, from the beginning we think that we can open our embassy, but now it's impossible to do that at that time. So from cultures to understanding to them buying coffee. Now let me go to Mas Iman. Can you tell us the idea, Iman, when you want to open the coffee shop, Indonesian coffee shop outside Indonesia, and how it becomes Tokyo, and how does the Japanese people reacted to Indonesian coffee over there?
Okay, thank you. So before we entered, we entered Japan in 2020, and but our work over there, I think, started even before that. So a year and a half before 2020, and actually, that's a questions that we get a lot. Why do you open in Japan? Why not in other countries, or why not in other cities? So basically, of course, there's three reasons. The first one, obviously, the market. Japan is one of the highest coffee consuming market in the world, and we see that in the future it's going to grow even larger. So that's very positive for us, yeah, that was the first one. The second one, we see that Japan is actually a hub. So our mission in the beginning was to, how do we promote Indonesian coffee? How do we promote our brand? And what better way to promote it where it's actually a hub, you know? So we see that if it can be trendy in Japan, it can be trendy everywhere else in the world. You know, if we can make it in Japan, we can make it anywhere else in the world. And people it's kind of the center for trend and for lifestyle. So we see that, oh, I think that story kind of goes well with what we intend to do, which is to promote Indonesian coffee and the brand itself. And then thirdly, I think Japan, we saw Japan as a good place to start because in terms of hospitality, Japan is a very good brand for hospitality. We know how Japanese are, and I think that kind of links or resembles our hospitality here in Indonesia. So furthermore, I think it strengthens the brand and how we can link that to coffee. So that's the first part of your question, why we chose Japan. The second part, I think you asked how Japanese people take or respond to Indonesian coffee. So that was one of the problems that we faced before entering Japan, was that when we did our research, we saw that, this is a challenge that we have to break through, which is the perception. I think Irman mentioned a little bit about the perception as well. So there's this perception about Indonesian coffee that we had to change, and rightly so. But that was 2020. Fast forward to today, I think it has changed quite a lot, and that's not thanks to us, but thanks to everything. I mean, everything Indonesia has done, the champions. The quality of coffee is improving, and so the perception has gotten better. But when we were over there and we first opened our shop, we opened our roastery, one of the things that we often do was we do public cuppings. So we would close our shop early and we would do cuppings. We would invite a lot of roasters from Tokyo, and we would do public cuppings. And we would try to change the perception by doing blind cuppings. So we do a lot of blind cuppings as well. So just to see how they respond to Indonesian coffee. And surprisingly, that sort of fun and light activity kind of changed the perception of the roasters. So I think things like that was improving. And that was basically to initiate or to encourage people these roasters to get more Indonesian coffee and roast our Indonesian coffee and distribute it to coffee shops and whatnot. So I think by doing things like this, and we also do a lot of talk shows as well over there in our coffee shops, also in KBRI or in the embassy, and those activities kind of a little bit contribute to what you're saying.
Yes. And also the fun thing and wonderful thing about Kopi Kalian is that they bring the bridge between Indonesian cultures, not only just the coffee, but also the products, yeah? I think Kopi Kalian brings some of the products from Indonesia to Japan, and even you bring some of the appliances from Japan to Indonesia, yeah?
Yes, we do. Yeah. I think one of the things that we do is we try to become a cultural bridge. So bringing what we have there and bringing what they have there here. That was an idea that we had from the beginning. So. One of the things that we wanted in our coffee shop in Japan was the experience. So we did this through product, as you said, as also through ingredients. So not just Indonesian coffee, but we also did we bring there other products, like our other ingredients like gula aren, like tea, and also spices for the jamu. So we do things like that just to create that sort of experience. And yeah, as you said, we also bring Origami Japan. So we are actually the official distributor of Origami Japan, and we brought that here. And yeah, that's just basically to strengthen the cultural bridge between Indonesia and Japan, and I think it's working pretty well.
Thank you. Wow, nice. And now I would reverse the questions coming from the Indonesian attaché and Indonesian coffee shop, Nicholas. So how do you find you as a Colombian working in Indonesia especially, and I'm sure you have been going here and there, how does the perception change from what it used to be back then and now? Since you're also been here for 14 years, I think you come from a country that is already established as a coffee producer's country, and with every culture of the coffee, coming to Indonesia, you see it thriving from 14 years ago. How's that?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for your question. First of all, let me apologize here because I'm having a very bad cramp on my leg today. So if you see me twitching at some point or stretching, just know it's because of that. Yeah, well, in the 14 years that I have been here, I've seen a huge improvement and growing passion in coffee in Indonesia, especially because I have had the chance to meet several producers and baristas, and Mikael, for example, the champion, as I told you before. Many of them look up to Colombia as a very high standard and quality coffee producing country, not only in general, but also because we have also a lot of very passionate people who are pushing the limits of what coffee can be every year, trying to do experimental processes, new things. And that's most of the coffee that people end up using in competitions, like what Mikael used in his competition was one very special Colombian coffee. But I've seen them trying to replicate that passion and that process here as well. People trying to improve the coffee that they have with varieties that we maybe don't use in Colombia, but you still have here. And trying to understand better the coffee that they have so they can always aim to achieve a better and better product every time. I've also seen very beautiful work done between Colombian coffee growers and Indonesian coffee growers in which they try experimental things from one place to another and vice versa. I don't know if she joined this year, but last year, Rani from Java Halu was joining the conference as well. And I visited her farm, I think 2 years ago, and she was working close to with Mikael and Chatur, trying to do this enzymatic luwak fermentation thing with the coffee. That I think it's a hugely interesting process that they're working on, in which they took a sample from luwak droppings or the stomach of the luwak, I don't remember which one it was, to try and isolate the microorganisms that had, get rid of all the pathogens and just keep the good ones, and try to use that as a base to create this liquid in which they will ferment their coffee, trying to recreate what luwak coffee does in their stomach, but without having to harm or do anything with the luwak itself. So they're trying to produce this luwakless luwak coffee. And that kind of research and development and experiments that coffee producers do, that's where you see the passion that people really have to try and strive and get higher quality coffees, different kinds of coffee, something special. And this is a fully Indonesian thing, right? Everybody knows about luwak coffee. It's a very famous thing. And if you can replicate it without having to harm the animals or force feed them or whatever, and you're already doing like the original selection process that the luwak used to do when they were roaming free, picking the best cherries, you're doing this now as a farmer with the best cherries that you have and giving them that process. That's a way to try and conserve the culture that you already had around coffee, adapting to the new realities and the conditions that you have in which you shouldn't harm animals or anything like that. So I think that's beautiful, and I've seen many examples of that kind of research and development being done over the past 14 years, which means that, yeah, Indonesians are very passionate about coffee, also trying to improve day by day. This year, I think, for the first time, the Muhammad had, what was his name? The barista that you had participating, Muhammad Aga, right?
Yes.
I think it's the first time that they have used an Indonesian coffee on stage on the World Barista Championship. So when I saw that happening, I was very happy when I saw his presentation, because it doesn't have to do anything with me, but I felt proud because Indonesia managed to have a coffee that they considered was very good to be part of the world stage in the World Barista Championship. So that's beautiful, I think.
Yeah, wonderful. So just yesterday we talked with the Indonesian current Brewers champion, Rian Wibawa, and also Yang Bek, which is the World Cup Taster winners 2023, and they were saying about the positioning that Indonesian coffee have been growing, and how the Excelsa of Rian Wibawa also, even though he didn't make the whole Indonesian coffee back then, but once he was winning the Chicago 2022, yeah, for the third barista brewers champion, everyone tried to get the coffee. So just to give it a context, many of the Indonesian barista, well, back then, they even go to championship with the other countries' beans, not with Indonesian beans. But now, with the higher processing quality and the better producing at the back of the hulu, what we call at the other end, we could be able to make some great coffee and processing. And now, like Nicola said, just this year, Muhammad Aga, our winner, he tried to actually manage to bring Indonesian coffee to the world stage. Back to Pak Irman on the G2G, Pak. Can you tell us how does it comes growing the demand at the time in the Egypt area, from nothing to the fourth and now to the second country taking our coffee? What can we do next also to actually get this ideas to another country that might have the similar culture but have not yet be able to do so?
Okay, then. We as a government, especially in the Ministry of Trade, we do have programs coming from our ministers. First is to strengthening our own economy, and then second is to increase our export, and then third is to empowering our SMEs, small medium enterprises, in order that they can do exports. So this is quite like stimulus that we already been done during my tenure as the trade attaché in Egypt, that we also basically not only focusing on the promoting and then exporting first the Indonesian products itself, also especially coffee, but also we are looking upon our own society, our own diaspora of Indonesian living in Egypt at that time. We believe that our own community, our own Indonesian diaspora, they do also have an opportunity, and they do also have a potentials to encourage themselves in order to help our own countries, our own economics in the countries, basically to do like facilitating an exports of their own products coming from their own areas. So basically, based on our analysis at that time, that many Indonesian students, I believe there were like 13,000 Indonesian students studying in Egypt at that moment, and most of them, based on our analysis, they do have a family background on the coffee farming and also in the coffee business. So we support them, we help them, and we facilitate them that they can also be an entrepreneur. At the time, learning to be an entrepreneur, learning their businesses, to facilitate the Indonesian products, especially coffee products coming from their own area, into Egyptian markets. So we gather all these Egyptian buyers at the times, and we inform them that we believe that we can bridging coffee businesses between Indonesia and Egypt through this Indonesian diaspora. So this becoming, at that time, very beneficial for us. So not only we can develop a lot of exports coming from Indonesian businesses directly at the time, but also through the facilitation of our diaspora of Indonesian as well. So the exporting is getting more grower and growing. And then also we, as I mentioned before, that through our gastrodiplomacy at that time, we making a lot of such as an events like a receptional, diplomatic receptionals at the embassy, and also we participates in several kinds of exhibitions at that time, and as well as we also bringing a lot of buyers at that time through our one and only biggest exhibition at the Trade Expo Indonesia during the time of October annually. So this kind of things develop lots of many good perceptions of Indonesian coffee in front of the eyes of the Egyptians community, Egyptian buyers. And it is important for us, I mean, not only the government, but also the businesses, that we have to develop our own Indonesia brandings, that our own Indonesia coffee branding is still very not known in other countries. They already know about, let's say, sinabung, or let's say about any kind of variety of coffee, but they still don't know yet, I mean, about Indonesian as a brand itself, Indonesian as a coffee brand itself. So this is important for us, still like a homework for us to develop this matter. So that's in the futures. That if we would like to promote our coffee throughout the world, so we can bring the Indonesian coffee brand itself as a one nation, so that it's getting it's getting easier for us. I mean, to make our coffee exports higher to the world, and also to get our coffee as as a one good products becoming well wide known into the world itself.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just to sum up, Brad, so basically what happens is that the government needs to be proactive. Back then with the Egyptian diaspora also, this is something that is really wonderful to know also, that there's a lot of students in Indonesia, especially if you know Egyptian, in Egypt we have Al-Azhar, which actually had so many Indonesian students. Back then it's always been the highest Indonesian students in the world, yeah, but outside Indonesia, there will be Egypt.
So we synergize. Yeah. We synergize as a government and as a diaspora with the businesses, yes, and also with the importers, exporters. We have one common missions that time. So to make the Indonesian coffee great again into the world.
Yeah, and focus on branding. Yeah, that focus on branding would need to actually grow. Iman, so you've been working with the outside Indonesia from 2020. Do you have any other mission coming from Kopi Kalian, maybe in opening other chain in outside Japan, maybe, or give us a hint of anyone here or anyone who had a coffee shop? Maybe tips or trick if you want to open your coffee shop outside Indonesia. Because at the moment, the Indonesian there's a few brands that's actually making the same move, but we go out. Yesterday we talked to Tuku, and they're opening up in Amsterdam also. So they said that when we come out from Indonesia, we don't go there with a brand. We go there with our flag, with Indonesia as the brand, because no one knows about Kopi Tuku or Kopi Kalian. When we go out there, we go with the Indonesian coffee. So give us a hint about getting your brand outside the country, or do you have any other mission opening up other country?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to mention my partner, who's also a co-founder of Kopi Kalian, Putri. She's actually the creative brains behind Kopi Kalian.
Okay, give us a round of applause, please.
Anything creative comes from Putri at the moment. It's funny that you asked because, and exactly what Theo from Tuku actually probably said. When you go out of the country, when you go to another country, it's not just bringing our brand, but also our flag. And that's the sort of mentality that we have to build. As for Kopi Kalian, of course we have some dreams to open up more shops elsewhere, but we also want to increase our exposure in Japan as well. So I think expansion in Japan is a possibility, or is one of our dreams. Also to go to another country is also another dream of ours. We also have this initiative called House of Beans. We actually we're supported also by the government for that particular project from BI. The concept of House of Beans is basically a supermarket for Indonesian beans.
Oh, okay.
We believe that one of the problems overseas, especially also in Japan, is the lack of access for Indonesian beans outside of Indonesia, quality Indonesian beans. That's why when I met Nicholas, I asked him, can you actually find Indonesian beans in Colombia? Because I just want to know what it's like the other way around. So House of Beans basically is a place where roasters or buyers can buy small amounts of Indonesian beans, maybe 15 kilos. They can come to our shop, they can shop around all the Indonesian beans and grab it. So I think our objective in the House of Beans is to basically create a space for farmers to promote their beans outside of Indonesia. But for them to do that, not to have to export a big chunk amount. So they can do small amounts, they can do 1 bags, they can do 2 bags, and they can still get the exposure overseas. And hopefully the idea is to help the more exposure, because with more exposure, with more information, Indonesian beans can actually grow and become better in quality as well. So in terms of expansion, I think that might also be a possibility. So if we could make House of Beans in other places around the world, that would be excellent. So we would have small beans grocery, or beans mini market, I would say, together with Kopi Kalian, maybe have that in other countries. That would be excellent. And yeah, maybe tips and tricks for other brands going outside. Be willing to share. I think storytelling is a big part of going overseas. I think I would call it a privilege. So when you go outside of the country, storytelling becomes a privilege. One of the things that we did when we first entered Japan, we spent quite a lot in storytelling. So we even made a documentary together with Surya Pictures and together with Muhammad Aga. We made a documentary about Indonesian coffee. And we would play that video in our coffee shop. And from there, people get more excited and more curious about Indonesian coffee. And actually that video, it's called Telusur Rasa. You guys can check it out in YouTube if you haven't. I think it's a good watch. And that video since then have been played in other countries as well. In I think it's South Africa, in different ITPCs, they've used our video, and we're actually more than glad, we're privileged to be able to storytell Indonesian coffee to the rest of the world. So tips and tricks for other brands going outside is be willing to share, because from sharing, I think business will come by itself as well. So. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I can share. Other than that, I think people have their own identity, people have their own strategies. I think we'll be just as good, but do the research as well and be willing to storytell and research and share.
Okay, so get ready with your narrative and story and tell the world, about Indonesia. Okay. Last question before Q&A, Nicholas. Coming from Colombia and also working with the embassy also, do you have any program that you might be doing in in this year, other than I think last October ya Pak, we have the Trade Expo. But for Colombian embassy and yourself coming from there, how do you see, do you have any program that you're going to have with the coffee this year maybe?
Well, for the rest of the year, not really, but to be honest, we constantly have coffee promotion events going on.
Okay.
Maybe smaller events because we cannot be joining big exhibitions all the time because, well, coffee is the gateway that we use for Indonesians to learn about Colombia, but of course there is much more Colombian products as well. So next week, for example, we're going to have an event around Colombian cocoa beans.
Oh, okay.
So, but big part of the job that I do in Indonesia is promote Colombian coffee in general. So we're constantly doing copying of Colombian coffees that are open to public. I try and join as many events as I can, like this, for example. I didn't have the chance this year to join Jakarta Coffee Week last week because I was in Ubud Writers Festival with a Colombian writer. But for the past couple of years, we have had a booth there in which we give free coffee away for people to try Colombian coffee and see what all the fuss is about. Because many people hear, oh yeah, Colombian coffee, one of the best in the world, but they haven't actually had the chance to try it. So that are the kinds of events that we try and do to reach people they actually have the chance to try the Colombian coffee. A couple of weeks ago also I participated at an event in Universitas Indonesia in which I did a cultural talk around coffee culture in Colombia, and I brewed some coffee for people outside later on, and we gave samples to everybody to try the Colombian coffee and see what it all was about. So that are the kind of coffee events that we work on. And of course, whenever there is like big activities, we also try to join. Like when you had World of Coffee earlier this year, we did a big promotion work with several Colombian coffee producers who came here. The Colombian Coffee Growers Federation had a booth in there in which they held cuppings the whole 3 days in several different schedules in which different producers could showcase their beans. There were also other coffee companies who came to the activity to promote Colombian coffee. So yeah, we're constantly looking to find new spaces in which we can promote the Colombian coffee in Indonesia.
Yeah, okay. Well, I just hear that you brew coffee in Universitas Indonesia, yeah?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, wow.
I think it was two weeks ago on a Saturday also. I was brewing washed coffee from Antioquia in Colombia.
Okay, I think you should do it next year for our international coffee conference, yeah?
Sure, I'll be happy to.
Yes, it's really nice coffee. I think last time we drink the Colombian coffees at the embassy in your space, yeah. Okay, guys. So I think we have around 10 minutes to Q&A. We're going to open for a session first. Okay, 2 questions. One from over there and here. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you very much, sir. It's a very interesting topic about gastro. I'm Haryas. I've been a coffee lover since I was a senior high school. So talking about gastrodiplomacy, of course, the other of customer behavior, nature behavior also have impact on coffee industry, right? So, sir, how do you think about climate change get impact on the taste of coffee? So it will have an impact on your coffee industrial. How do you tackle it? Thank you very much.
Okay, maybe it's the next question.
Halo, saya pakai bahasa Indonesia aja, Mas.
Siap.
Jadi saya pertama mau apresiasi ke Mas Iman dulu, karena rasanya sangat absurd gitu ya, ketika seorang Muslim ngopi di Jepang, tiba-tiba di Harajuku bisa sholat. Terus one of his barista yang biasanya kita panggil pakai san, jadinya kita panggil pakai mas. Tapi dia yang suruh panggil pakai mas, Nishio-san. And very funny because I think at that time mungkin orang semua ingatnya Coffee Mania 2018. Mereka justru bilang the most sold out coffee in our stores is Mandailing. So aku tuh dilarang untuk beli. please don't buy, just try because this is Indonesian coffee. Tapi gue dapat kopi enak justru bukan waktu lagi minum di Indonesia tapi lagi di Jepang. Dan pada akhirnya ketika kedatangan kopi kalian di sana itu juga lumayan shock karena treatmentnya menurutku disesuaikan dengan peminum di sana karena Nisio juga bilang bahwa 50% itu foreigners yang datang ke sana. 50% itu orang Indonesia berkumpul di sana dan ngopi. 30%-nya kalau nggak salah orang Eropa, terus 20%-nya dan masih terus meningkat adalah orang Jepangnya sendiri. Dan menurutku itu luar biasa ya karena biasanya kalau dengar kopi Indonesia orang cuma nyebut Mandailing, terus ya yang kayak biasanya yang kita tahu lah ya, pasti itu aja yang diulang Toraja. Tapi akhirnya senang banget orang bisa tahu banyak varietas, kayak tahu bisa ada Wanoja dan lain-lain dari kopi kalian gitu, itu menyenangkan sekali. Tapi yang mau saya tanyakan ke masing-masing dari bapak-bapak semuanya, kopi Indonesia pertama apa yang mengubah perspektif dari tiap negara, including Colombian person, what kind of coffee that changed their perspective about our varieties, our taste of coffee, and our cultural. Thank you.
Wow, okay. So one about climate and natural, what's it called, yeah? We can say the climate change, yeah, Mas. What do you think, what we can do to work on that? And secondly would be the Indonesian coffee, they change. I think they change your perspective, yeah? I think we have those kind of coffee that we still remember when we drink it, yeah? The Indonesian coffee. Oke. Pak Irman dulu mungkin? Boleh? Yes. Silakan.
Baik, terima kasih. Saya jawab bahasa Indonesia juga ya, mohon izin ya. Baik, jadi memang pertama kali kalau pada saat kita mempromosikan kopi Indonesia di Mesir, Mesir itu paling menyukai kopi Robusta Indonesia. Apapun itu pokoknya Robusta. Bahkan juga grade-nya itu tidak menjadi perhatian utama. Mereka mintanya tuh grade 3, grade 4 tuh dengan defect 45 atau lebih gitu. Jadi memang benar-benar kopi yang kualitas rendah seperti itu ya. Nah, tapi seiring dengan waktu itulah tugas bagaimana kita melakukan gastrodiplomasi itu sendiri ya. Bagaimana memperkenalkan kopi Indonesia selain daripada Robusta yang biasa mereka pesan saat itu dengan berbagai ragam varietas kopi yang sangat kaya di Indonesia. Apalagi kemudian kita memiliki kalau nggak salah sekitar 53 indikasi geografis kopi Indonesia. Apalagi dengan specialty coffee yang beragam, kita mengenal kopi Gayo tadi ada Sinabung, Mandailing dan lain sebagainya. Nah, kita intens tuh melakukan kegiatan-kegiatan demo kopi dan gastrodiplomasi itu sendiri, langsung mendatangi berbagai ragam tempat-tempat penjual kopi ya, pebisnis kopi, bahkan mengundang juga Mas Dani di sini untuk menjadi barista di sana mempromosikan, mendemokan kopi Indonesia. Bukan hanya di kedutaan, tapi kita undang juga di berbagai kegiatan event yang melibatkan pemerintah Mesir pada saat itu. Nah, walhasil pada tahun itu kita lakukan sejak tahun 2019 awal, intens. Nah, walhasil tahun 2021 itu sampai sekarang itu berdiri sekarang yang ada namanya toko kopi namanya Villa Sumatera. Nah, itu yang memiliki itu bukan orang Indonesia tapi orang asli Mesir itu sendiri, itu menjual tadi itu berbagai ragam kopi Indonesia specialty dari Gayo dan lain sebagainya. Bahkan mereka juga menyiapkan untuk sebagai souvenir ya, untuk dijual ke mana-mana begitu ya. Nah, Villa Sumatera itu sendiri sekarang sudah memiliki kalau nggak salah sudah beberapa cabang, bahkan bisa menyaingi Starbucks di Mesir. Nah, itu salah satu kebanggaan kita, dan kita harapkan juga toko-toko seperti itu, toko-toko kopi seperti itu akan makin berkembang di Mesir, dan juga tentunya akan akan mengundang juga gairah untuk negara-negara sekitarnya ya, Tunisia, Libya, dan bahkan Arab Saudi sekarang pun ini sudah mulai banyak mengimpor kopi Indonesia juga ya, akan lebih banyak mengenal specialty kopi kita gitu.
Ya. Bahkan menambahkan sedikit, there's the brands called Villa Sumatera in Egypt. They even back then they start in their apartment, so they don't have a shop. Ya Pak ya. They doesn't have a shop. They started in an apartment selling Indonesian coffee without any Indonesian in there. Now they have several branch selling our coffee. So yeah, we still remember. Okay, Mas Iman? Oh, Nicola, yes, please.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I will tackle the question about climate change.
Yes.
So yes, this is a question that comes up more and more in every talk that I have been involved in. And yeah, of course, climate change, it's a real issue that affects all of us, and specifically in coffee producing, it's starting to show issues for farmers. Let's say, specifically in Colombia, we produce 100% Arabica coffee. And one of the conditions that you have to in order to grow Arabica coffee is high altitude land with a specific climate. And lately it has been happening that lower plantations that are around 1,000, 1,200 meters above sea level, the farmers on those regions are starting to have more issues because weather is becoming a bit hotter. They are more easily being attacked by different insects and other pests that they didn't used to have before. And so they're starting to look for higher and higher lands. Now you see plantations that had coffee around 2,000 meters above sea level, which didn't have very big yields because it was already a bit too high for the plants. Now they're yielding bigger and bigger harvest because the climate is getting more suitable for the plants to produce better in those areas. So you can see how climate it's making coffee climb literally higher and higher also. And there is some other issues, for example, that you face in let's say, my mom's farm, that it's around 1,600 meters above sea level. It used to have a very predictable rain pattern, but now the harvests have been pushing forward and forward in time. So it used to be October, November, December. Now it's November, December, January. It's starting to change. And the issue is that sometimes you're getting rain and very strong rains and winds during flowering process in the coffee growing process. And whenever you have that mixed with high winds and high amount of rain, it will make the flowers fall. And then because of that, your harvest is going to be a lower yield because those flowers won't become cherries eventually. So that is also a big issue that people are facing in different regions of Colombia as well. So yeah, of course, it's a big issue. People are working around that to try and find solutions, not only for climate change in general, where we should all be striving to correct, but how to deal that with your coffee plantation. And yeah, of course, whenever you have to change your land, your altitude, your climate changes, all of those small factors will change the flavor of your coffee at the end also. So you will end up having, maybe if the change is constant, you won't be able to have coffee that will be consistent year by year. So that's also a big issue. And yeah, what was the other question about it?
The coffee that changed your perspective, the Indonesian coffee.
Okay, well, one of those is the luwak enzymatic fermentation thing that I was talking about before. That was huge eye-opening thing for me to see that was being done and to try and preserve the culture of luwak coffee, but without harming the animals. But also, well, you were asking if we can see Indonesian coffee in Colombia. Well, when I was growing up in Colombia, before coming to Indonesia, I had not had the chance to try Indonesian coffee before. I never seen Indonesian coffee in Colombia before. I'm sure there must be people who are commercializing Indonesian coffee there, but I haven't seen it. So the first time I tried Indonesian coffee was actually in Indonesia. And the perspective that I had before coming here about Indonesian coffee is that it was mostly Robusta, which I don't really like too much. That's a preference thing. So in my mind, it was gonna be coffee that I wouldn't like. But being here and having the chance to try a lot of different coffees that are being grown here and produced here and processed here, mostly Arabica varieties, which is the coffee I prefer, I found out that there is a lot of things that are hugely interesting. One of my favorite coffees, it's being grown in Bali. It's Semendo, and they have different fermentation levels on different processing that they do with them. And you can really see how it changes with the same beans but different fermentation time, to the point that it becomes a very winey-like coffee at the end. And I love that kind of coffee with milk because the milk gives it a nice sweetness that ends up tasting like some kind of fruit pie or something like that. So that I really like.
Okay, wonderful. Mas Iman?
Mungkin menjawab menanggapi yang tadi. Sekarang angkanya malah sudah sedikit berubah ya. Jadi Indonesia udah makin sedikit sekarang. Jadi yang paling banyak sekarang itu malah yang datang ke coffee shop kita di Tokyo itu expats. So about 50% itu expats, foreigners yang tinggal di Japan. Mungkin karena lokasi kita yang ada di tourist center lah ya di Shibuya. Sisa 30-nya itu Indonesia, 30-nya itu Japanese local, 20%-nya itu Indonesia. Jadi sekarang malah Indonesianya udah makin kecil. Nah, kita percaya one of the reasons why we do that itu adalah bukan karena sekarang itu yang telling the storytelling about Indonesian coffee itu bukan kita, bukan orang Indonesia, tapi orang Jepang gitu. Jadi ketika kita tahu kita bisa lebih sukses lagi di storytellingnya ketika yang udah ngomongin kopi kita itu adalah orang Jepangnya sendiri gitu. Jadi kebetulan Mas Nishio itu sangat gaul ya kan di dunia kopi di sana. Jadi dia banyak ngobrol sama orang-orang sana dan he does the storytelling for us. Kalau mungkin kopi yang lupa sih sebenarnya apa yang change my mind. Cuma mungkin it would be some mungkin kopi Solok atau kopi Jawa Barat dulu ya, mungkin kopi Frinsa kalau nggak salah dulu ya, saya lupa ya, udah 6-8 tahun, 6-7 tahun yang lalu, sorry lebih ya 9 tahun yang lalu gitu. Itu mungkin salah satu dari dua itu gitu. Cuman menurut saya semakin kesini kopi kita banyak banget yang enak-enak sekarang, banyak banget yang enak-enak. Even Robusta, kemarin nyoba Robustanya Indonesia ternyata enak banget gitu. Banyak yang enak gitu. Jadi ya menurut saya peluang kopi di Indonesia kualitasnya makin naik. One day we will catch up to I don't know if we'll catch up Colombia, but yeah, maybe we'll get closer to Colombia one day.
Okay, give round of applause to our speakers. Tepuk tangannya dulu. Yeah, well, for sure we knew better about our coffee these days because just the data itself speaks out. Now more than 50, closer to 60% our coffee is being drank domestically. Before that, the best coffee goes outside and we just drink from the sachet. Now we have we have a better understanding and better perspective. We have a better chance also drinking our own best coffee. And hopefully, year by year, we can get into this perspective that Indonesia become number one. Why? Because, well, this is from my perspective. We have a different terroir. We are from different land. The Sumatra, Java, everything had its own terroir. And when we got to actually speak and have the narrative for each of this terroir, I think we can get into better narrative outside the Indonesia. With our barista also coming and having the championship, we now have I think 4 champions in Indonesia. I think that drives so strong to actually the world to understand that Indonesia is coffee producing country and we produce one of the best coffee in the world. I think it's just too fast sometimes, since many of our champions now are winning the championship, and the Indonesian coffee itself, we still have a lot of problems. Last time we talked about the policy that we had in Indonesia. There's a lot of homework to do so. Thankfully we have that House of Beans and everything. Thank you so much for sharing and thank you so much for listening for you guys. Sekali lagi boleh tepuk tangannya buat kawan-kawan. Let's take a picture. But before that, after conference, we have our community next door, so you can drink coffee. We have a public cupping, always changing, and hopefully you can drink a wonderful coffee next door. Asia, makasih semuanya. Please.